Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I am absolutely thrilled today because we're diving into one of the most mind-bending texts in ancient Indian philosophy, the Kenopanishad. Whether you're a total beginner or you've spent years poring over ancient texts, we're going to break down these really dense, fascinating concepts together. We'll turn them into clear, accessible ideas. So get comfortable, clear your mind, and let's unravel this whole shebang together.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with an inquiry and then tackle the big question, who is in control? From there, we're going to explore the knowledge of not knowing, check out an awesome myth about the pride of the gods, and finally, wrap up with the path to Brahman.
All right, Section 1, Kenopanishad, an inquiry. To really grasp this text, we first need to set the stage and understand the specific mindset it actually demands.
So the text kicks off with this absolutely beautiful invocation called the Shanti mantra. Before doing any heavy intellectual lifting, the student and teacher would actually sit down and chant this. It's basically a peace invocation. The goal here is to focus the mind and physically prepare the body, literally asking for all the senses to be strong and vigorous so they can actually absorb the ultimate reality, which they call Brahman. And they wrap it up by chanting Shanti, which means peace, 3 times to clear away any obstacles. It just creates the perfect, serene vibe for learning.
Okay, so with our mind's focus, let's look at the actual title of the text. The Sanskrit word kena translates to by whom, or by what agent. And that's exactly what this entire Upanishad is framed around, a massive existential inquiry. It doesn't just hand you a list of dogmatic answers right out of the gate. No, it starts with a genuinely curious student asking their teacher about the hidden source of our actions.
Which brings us right to Section 2, who is in control? Let's take a look at the exact questions this student poses to the guru in the first part, or khanda, of the text.
Now, I want you to genuinely stop and ponder this for a second. What invisible force is actually driving your mind's desires right this very moment? We all think we're in charge, right? But who or what is actually pulling the strings and directing our attention to different objects?
And the student goes even deeper. They ask, by whose command does that very first breath happen? Who exactly prompts our speech, our vision, our hearing? The text is intentionally creating this sort of rhythmic dissonance here, just to make us realize that our senses, they're really just tools. And if there are tools, well, there has to be a master using them.
So here's the crucial part, the guru's absolutely mind-bending answer. He doesn't just hand over a simple name. Instead, he says the true controller is Brahman, but he defines it as the ear of the ear and the mind of the mind. According to the text, Brahman is this absolute reality that empowers our senses to work in the first place. But, and this is the kicker, it cannot be perceived by those same senses. It's like the physical eye literally cannot see the thing that allows the eye to see in the first place.
All right, moving on to Section 3, the knowledge of not knowing. Let's see how this builds into an incredible philosophical paradox in the second khanda. Just look at this wild paradox the guru presents here. He says, if you think you know Brahman, the way you'd know a math equation or a historical fact, you've completely missed the point. But on the flip side, those who realize they cannot know Brahman through normal intellectual means, those are the ones who actually grasp its true nature. Why? Well, because Brahman is the ultimate knower inside of us. The subject can't just suddenly become an object that it studies.
Basically, our standard everyday tools completely fail us here. The source text spells it out. The eye cannot see it, speech cannot express it, and the mind cannot think it. We literally have to let go of trying to understand Brahman by shoving it into neat little boxes of the known or the unknown. It is entirely beyond both of those concepts.
And that takes us to Section 4, the pride of the gods. Now, the pacing completely shifts here, and deep philosophy takes a backseat to an incredibly vivid mythological story that illustrates this exact same point.
So, the story goes like this. The gods, who represent these massive cosmic forces, win this huge, epic victory over evil. But instead of being grateful, they get totally blinded by their own egos. They start boasting, honestly believing that their power is entirely their own. Well, Brahman sees this and decides it's time for a little reality check. So it appears before them as this mysterious, shining spirit known as a yaksha. Totally baffled by this glowing entity, the gods decide to send their absolute heavy hitters to figure out what it is. First up is Agni, the god of fire, then Vayu, the god of wind, and finally, Indra, the king of the gods himself, steps up to the plate. Let's see how they do. Oh man, the humbling reality of this story becomes so clear when you see how spectacularly they fail. Agni marches up to the Yaksha, proudly claiming he can burn literally anything on Earth. The Yaksha just drops a single blade of grass and says, "Okay, burn this." Agni unleashes all his cosmic might, and nothing. Completely fails. Next up is Vayu, bragging that he can blow anything away. The Yaksha points to that exact same blade of grass. Vayu throws literal hurricanes at it and doesn't move it a single millimeter. It's a huge wake-up call. Without the backing of Brahman, the absolute greatest forces in nature are utterly powerless.
So, after Agni and Vayu strike out, the king of the gods, Indra, rushes in. But just as he gets close, the Yaksha just vanishes into thin air. And in its place, right there in the sky, appears Uma, also known as Haimavati. She is the radiant goddess of supreme, divine knowledge.
And here is the absolute crux of the story. Uma's revelation to Indra. She completely shatters their giant egos by revealing that the mysterious spirit was actually Brahman itself. The victory? Not theirs. The power? Not theirs either. She explains that all glory, all capability, even for the highest celestial gods, is just entirely borrowed from that one ultimate invisible source. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, The Path to Brahman. This humbling realization provides the student with the practical tools they need to actually personally realize this truth.
So, how did this realization actually happen in real life? The text uses two super engaging metaphors to explain it. It tells us that realizing Brahman isn't some slow, boring academic process. No, it's compared to a sudden, blinding flash of lightning across the sky, or the instantaneous quick blink of an eye. It's an immediate, sudden flash of pure clarity and consciousness. To get there, the guru gives the student a very specific way to meditate on Brahman, referring to it as tadvanam. This basically translates to the adorable, or the ultimate reality that should be worshipped by all beings. The text points out that when you truly realize this deep, fundamental interconnectedness through tadvanam, you naturally become beloved by everyone and everything around you.
But you can't just snap your fingers and jump straight to enlightenment, right? The guru outlines some pretty strict prerequisites. You have to build a firm foundation first. Tapas, which is discipline. Dhamma, which means self-control over your senses. Karma, doing your dedicated actions. And truth, which the text calls the eternal abode of Brahman. These are the absolutely crucial grounding practices you need to prepare your mind for that sudden lightning flash of realization.
And with the teachings complete, we come right back full circle. The text closes exactly the way it began, returning to the beautiful Shanti mantra. It wraps up the whole journey with a prayer of mutual acceptance, a profound wish for peace, and a gentle settling of the mind after tearing down the ego to acknowledge the ultimate source of all existence.
So I want to leave you with this incredibly provocative final thought derived straight from the Kina inquiry itself. Think about it. If your eyes are just tools, and your mind is just an instrument, and Brahman is the true eye of the eye and mind of the mind, then who is actually sitting there watching this explainer right now? Ponder that one for a bit. Let it spark your own journey of realization. Thank you so much for hanging out and exploring this ancient wisdom with me.